All right, so first of all, apologies for no video Saturday or Monday. I was busy celebrating Father's Day at the cabin, drinking, eating brisket, but that's beside the point. It's just explanation why no videos. But today we have our version 4 changes. This is most likely going to be the final changes when it comes to Himeko Nova, Gilgamesh, and Rin. I will be going over Gilgamesh and Rin separately, pretty much together in terms of value, whether or not you should be pulling them. But today is going to be Himeko's video, just keeping pace with my trend of covering Himeko because I'm still very excited for the character. We'll go over her and we'll go over her Lycone. So going over her own individual changes first. So with the ultimate, we can see that the orbital annihilation pulse, okay, so the pulse, not just the particle beam, but the pulse damage has been reduced from 960 to 762%. I kind of figured. And then we can see that the adjacent enemies are now going to be taking 252% instead of 300% of her attack. And we can see that when using the beam is depleted, automatically launches the pulse followed by a final hit, and it now does 800% of her attack. So if you aren't 100% aware or was paying attention, I guess, to testers and everything, the overall damage that she was doing at E0S1 was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're talking borderline like most damage in the game just at E0S1, above even some relatively recent characters with eidolons in them. So it is somewhat of a good change, makes her very, very close to balance. I'm very curious what theory crafters are going to be having her numbers at, given the fact that last time we talked about her numbers were like absolutely astronomical. The AoE, the particle beam, was reduced to 32% instead of 40%, makes sense. And then we can see that the pulse was reduced by additional 10%, makes sense. But the biggest thing here is, like I said, it is just like this part right here, both of these, with the overall damage that we are going to be seeing from her in terms of her ultimate. The talent, we can see here that when using the, which one is this? Okay, so just the talent when using the assist skill is considered as Himeko Nova using her skill. You get all type res pen increased to 20%, so that's still the same, and crit damage increased by 80% for the assist skill. So little bit of a nerf there, and we can see that when ally target other than Himeko uses the assist skill, they regenerate 4 energy. So little bit of a nerf there. So far we're looking at generally just a nerf all in all, which I'm not necessarily bothered by, like I said. Now the assist skill, Trailblazer by your side, fire damage equal to 160%. Okay, so just again in general, just decreases across the board for her AoE assist skill. We can see here that verdict, nothing was changed with verdict, and decimation, nothing was changed. Okay, so these are the two essentially like the biggest things when it comes to her kit, outside of the ultimate, obviously, you know, with the overall damage. But in terms of everything else here, we could see that everything was kept the same. We have slight number differences when it comes to the raw parameters for everything here. But in terms of the actual like number, like percentage wise, what is based off of her own individual attack, everything is still the same. So again, not really that big of a difference. Traces, the silver rail, hushed in antiquity, oh my god, antiquity derp. We can see here that when you have, okay, so if current source energy is 3 points or more, we're using the pulse. The damage multiplier of the pulse against random enemy is increased by 30% instead of 40%. Makes sense. We can see here that Eidolon 2, everything up here was stayed the same, except down here it now says what the Trailblaze companions are. Makes sense. And then we have damage nerfs again to the E6, as well as stating the all type res pen. So overall, honestly, with her, we have a, oh man, what is it, like a 20% nerf across the board, maybe a little higher in some instances, but overall a 20% nerf to her overall damage, which again isn't that bad, just given the fact of my own personal issue with the fact that her raw numbers in version 3 were just so astronomically higher than everybody else's at equal investment. So this is very nice to see that she has come back down to earth a little bit. I still think she's an exceptional character to get, but seeing all these changes actually does make me happy seeing that. Now the light cone, we can see here that the defense ignore is increased by 12%, but the issue here, or not really issue, but the thing here is that for each stack of sail increases the assist damage. Initially it was by 24%, now it's 20%. And when you have 3 stacks of sail, it's going to increase the ult damage by 20%. So a good balance change, honestly, in my opinion here. I would much rather have the increase ignore enemies defense rather than more just overall raw damage from my character. I do think that ignoring the defense is better than anything else in that sense. So very, very good there. It's just my opinion. I think it's just better. In terms of number wise, I could be mistaken, but if I have a character who's able to ignore a little bit more defense rather than boosting their own actual damage output from their own abilities, I definitely think it's better. So the light cone is still very good. It would be really good for any Air Edition character being able to ignore 32% of the enemy's defense when dealing just damage in general. Doesn't matter how you're doing it, just as long as you're dealing the damage, that's important. So yeah, I think we're looking at, with light cone included, like if we're talking like an E0S1 Himeko, and version 3 was the barometer, let's say, I definitely think we're looking at roughly maybe a 20 just across the board, including light cone. I think we're looking at a base 20% decrease, so brings her closer to the overall damage capabilities of everybody else in terms of team compositions. I think it's good. I think it's a very, very good thing for the character. If people were up in the air when it comes to summoning for her, which I'll make a video as well, I definitely think that you have a little bit of a trickier dilemma, because I still think her overall damage is going to be exceptional. But yeah, that's I'll make all that in a separate video. That's just everything we have with the version 4 changes though.